Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our second online discovery chat here of 13 weeks. Tonight's our second one of the online discovery chats. And they all this winter revolve around the fact that TV golf overcomplexifies your game. So you want to hit mute, become consistent. And I want you to notice here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 words in our title because, right, we have 9 holes in a regular 9-hole round of golf. So, so what we'll be doing on Tuesday nights, as it says down here, Tuesday nights here in January, Wednesday nights in February, and Thursday nights in March is looking into this statement of mine that TV golf overcomplexifies your golf game. And to work against that, you want to hit mute to become consistent. And talk about how a 1970 Montana's teenager can not hit range balls and yet go from shooting about in the 130s to shooting down in the high 70s to low 80s in 1 year, while yet not hitting range balls. We can make the game simpler than golf on TV makes it for us. So that's what we want to keep examining here as we go through these 13 weeks. And again, I love Sir Nick Faldo. I love Jim Nance. Been loving him for 20, 30, 40 years, however long Nance has been on there. And I consider Nick Faldo, especially to be a golf genius in many ways. But at times, the things they say really don't help your golf game. And we're going to keep examining that, especially as we get into things tonight. And this, as I mentioned last week, is some young man there in 1970s Montana trying to hit balls off a flimsy piece of indoor-outdoor carpet. That did not work very long at all because the whole carpet came up, whenever I hit the shot. My persimmon woods, forged irons, long hair. We're building our log house in the background there. And as you can see from this angle, not much skin on the bones. So things change over time, don't they? So there are 13 weeks. Actually, as you count them, right, they're only 11 weeks. Last week, we were on the driving range warming up. Tonight, we're going to talk about the first word in our 9-word title, TV. Next week, we'll be talking about the second word in our title, golf, and we go through the weeks. And as you see, that only adds up to 11, so there'll be a couple bonus online workshops in there, at least 2 of those bonus online workshops for y'all this winter. And so when it comes to TV, these are the topics we'll cover tonight. Worry, making money, Joel's alternative paradigm, my particular golf DNA, my vocational crossroads, my no baloney family, telecasts harm golfers. Byron, you're wrong. Some TV golf history and some humor there for us. So, TV golf overcomplexifies your game. The first aspect we're going to talk about tonight is worry. This is from an article that I found about 40 years ago. Charles Price is a famous golf writer. I think he's passed away now. But this was an interview with Bobby Jones. Bobby Jones passed away in 1971. So obviously this is at least 55 years ago when Charles Price, this famous golf writer, had this discussion with Bobby Jones. But here are just 4 little lines from each gentleman. Charles Price, the journalist, what is it then that makes some people afraid of losing, choking in the locker room sense of the word, Mr. Jones? Bobby Jones says, worry. Of course, you are aware of all the dangers a bad shot can put into you, your chances of failure, the penalties you might incur, and you should weigh them carefully before deciding about the shot you want to play. But after taking your stance, there should be no room for worry. While making my address, I never thought of anything other than hitting the ball. If I thought of anything else, I did not hit it. And Charles Price says, but But how do you keep from worrying in a game that is by nature so uncertain? I even worry before I tee off. But Bobby Jones says, worrying at golf is like worry anywhere. It's a fear of the future, which is pointless. There isn't anything you can do about something that has not happened yet. All you did was worried over nothing. So we can all relate to that, can't we? So Bobby Jones knew what he was talking about back at least 50 years ago. He was born, I think, in 1902. So he understood these things. And I say worry hurts, but calm helps. And I want you to really appreciate this. This is a big part of what we'll be talking about all winter long. The suspense-filled, worry-inducing, future-obsessed TV golf industry mindset directly opposes the calming, present-minded, consistent golf mindset. Now, you can use TV golf for incredibly enjoyable entertainment. All right, just realize this fact. TV golf does not exist to help your game. Indeed, TV golf actually kills your game in many ways. Suspense and worry are what drive TV golf. Certainty and staying in the present moment, those are what drive consistent golf. When you complete these 13 weeks, I think you'll agree with me about these phrases right here. And you will have taken huge, multifaceted steps to become a much more consistent player. So, our second topic here, making money. TV golf exists, like I said, not to help your game, but to make money for its creators and its current employers. Now, I don't consider this a bad thing. In fact, I admire their profitability. I really, really do. They have become very good at it. Like I said last week, I confess my name is Joel, right? And I am a golf drunk. Okay, I love it. So TV golf makes money for its stockholders, its advertisers, and its coordinating production crews, those in front of and behind the cameras. And I consider this very good news for them. I freely admire the quality of their work. I honestly do. And they keep improving the product year after year. You know, those tracers especially has probably been the best thing they've done the last 5 years since TrackMan and Foresight and all those simulator companies are able to do that for them. It helps so much more, right, than the old days. I mean, the old days were only 5 or 10 years ago when the camera would go up like this and all we'd see would be, you know, the air, the sky, the blue sky and the clouds. But TV golf does not exist to help your game become consistent, right? There's just no way in the world they exist. They kind of act like it, and they've kind of convinced you in a certain ways quite often that they're really there to help your game, but they actually hurt it, is what I've observed over these last 40 or 50 years. And again, relative to making money, rather, TV golf exists to make money for themselves. They're not there to really help your game. TV golf wants you to keep you spellbound, right? In suspense, so you don't change the channel. Worried and concerned about what might happen next, right? That's what we're always thinking. Well, he could birdie the next hole and then he would be tied for the lead. You're emotionally and mentally hyped up, spellbound, edge of your seat emotional state when you're watching TV golf plays right into the desires of the TV golf industry. And we all love it. We love that kind of hype. We love the suspense of, is he going to win or is he going to win? Is she going to win or is she going to lose the tournament like she did 3 weeks ago? So we love that, and that's good. I like that for entertainment value. But you're emotionally and mentally hyped up, spellbound, edge of your seat state. If that's your state, that when you're trying to play golf, that rarely helps you play consistent golf. And again, I'm preaching to the choir here. I know most of you experience this, but what I'm convinced of is most of you have not experienced the calm, consistent nature golf can be for you. Those corporate marketers passionately want your eyes, right? Is the way they say it nowadays with the internet. I feel certain you understand this. Okay. I know you all understand this. Some of you are even in that industry and you're good at it. I just want you to freshly consider that TV golf's place in your consistent golf game. So, TV golf, great entertainment value, terrible instruction value is the way I'd like you to congeal this in your mind. Joel's alternative paradigm. So this phrase right here, great entertainment value, terrible instruction value. One analogy would be to say, you know, it's great to go to the symphony and enjoy the symphony, but I really don't think I'm going to go there and at the end of the night know how to play my clarinet better. All right. It's great entertainment value there at the symphony, but I'm not going to use it for my instruction. So use the best players in the world, like down at the Cincinnati Symphony, the best players in the world. But that's not where I'm going to get my instruction for my clarinet. Use the good players in the world, admire them, pick up what you can, but don't use that for your instruction. And it would be nice if the announcers appreciated that too, but they don't, because again, it doesn't go along with their narrative is what makes them most money as possible. So my alternative paradigm then, if we're going to say that it's not good for your instruction, well, you know, what is it? Well, a dollar bill is a great saying there, is simply a certificate of appreciation. And I'm going to let you know a lot about some personally where I've come to these conclusions, these convictions over the last 40 years. So I'm going to talk a lot about myself tonight, my history, but it's going to help you, I think, especially as we go through all 13 weeks. So I've held the position of a full-time teaching professional since 1992. So it's been 31 years now, 32 years. When I left my PGA assistant pro position at Sea Island back in 92. And since then, I've only given lessons all day long. And so now I get called a full-time teaching professional. And then in 1999, they actually started calling me a full-time PGA master teaching professional. So, but I've never managed a pro shop like so many people we know, the great head pros, general managers know around town that make the golf course beautiful for all of us. I just did not want to do that activity, but I sure do respect them. They're all friends of mine. So like the TV golf people, though, I've also wanted to make money to make a living, obviously, right? Like all of us. Yet my living is not dependent on selling advertising to you. I've decided to apply my trade to make my living while in the role of a PGA teaching professional. My long-term financial sustenance is not dependent on selling advertising or keeping you in suspense, but it's dependent more on more players just like you handing me your hard-earned dollar bills, your certificates of appreciation. And so since 1987, many players have given me their certificates of appreciation with a huge hope, right? You employ me with this huge hope that I'm going to help you begin experiencing more and more of your own consistent golf success as a result of spending some time with me. I consider your hope communicated to me in your certificates of appreciation a profound, almost sacred trust. And I think y'all know that. I really, really do. That, you know, I'm doing my dead level best to help you. You're doing your dead level best to earn those dollars at your workplace. I want to make sure I'm helping you play better golf, not just entertaining you, like the TV golf does so well. So my alternative paradigm again here says that the profits made by TV golf indicate to me anyway that they've served many people very well with fantastic entertainment, right? It's entertainment. It's not instruction. And I fully believe this, and I respect the honest work of these TV golf guys. I love them in so many ways. At the same time, though, I also believe that if you're not careful, TV golf kills your game. So, again, to let you know about more where I'm coming from here, my golf DNA. Now, with these basic business and interpersonal thoughts established, I think you'll benefit from learning some things about my family. Maybe some of these characteristics also show up in your family, right? They call my dad's side the Suggs. They call my mom's side the Culbertson side. Neither side has ever liked getting told what to do. Both sides do not like to get manipulated. Both sides tend towards suspicion of other people. Both sides have many family members who own their own business. I just realized this a few years ago. We tended to not want help and took pride in going our own way, both sides for the family. And on both sides of my family, unsolicited advice really essentially never happens, all right? So this is where I'm coming from as I'm growing up. All right. You know how it is. We don't realize these things till we're older, but this is where I'm coming from. And then I noticed after I'd been a full-time teaching for over about 8 or 10 or 12 years, in about 2101, I sat down one day to examine, I like what I do, but I just feel skitched out, kind of frazzled, bothered so often in so many of my days. And I'm trying to figure this out over a period of weeks, a couple months. And one day, after about 90 minutes of listing them, I learned that at that point, I currently knew about 800 individuals by their first name. And I saw those 800 people regularly through my personal interactions with them in my golf job, but also in various activities, with church and other things I do, family, all these different things. 800 people. And I thought, well, gee, it's no wonder, Joel, that you're kind of skitched out. You know all these people by name. And I decided to try to limit the number of people I know. I'd still try to be nice to all the people I know, of course. I just wanted to make sure that number maybe became smaller. I just knew it had to get smaller to some extent for my own sanity. And so I began this process by, among other things, reducing the number of golf players I helped. Now, like I mentioned earlier, my livelihood depended then on players handing me those green certificates of appreciation, like so many of you have, and I appreciate it, in hopes of their golf game becoming more consistent. And to all my mentors and friends, reducing the number of players I helped did not seem like a very wise business decision. Yet, I had a sincere belief that if I honestly helped you guys and you ladies and you kids, each individual player, to the absolute best of my ability, I would be fine. All right, things would be fine. Thankfully, the last 25 years since that decision have proven me to be correct. So, our next little topic, my no baloney family. So, intellectual and verbal honesty and humility was another characteristic that also seemed to permeate each side of that family tree there of the Suggs and the Culbertsons. This got intermingled with huge dosage of Southern gentility and Midwestern disdain for presumption, is what I've concluded over the years. And all these qualities also engendered large doses of integrity in the vast majority of the Suggses and the Culbertsons. Like your family's pretty much, hey, ain't none of us been to prison, right? Good, hardworking, normal American folks. So a good helping of 20th century American can-doism. If I hadn't gotten born in Atlanta, I would have called that Yankee ingenuity, but that also had a solid foothold in our family. So I guess the quality in these bloodlines tend to give me just enough stubborn determination to succeed with a business model based on fewer players. So by the time I'd done this soul searching, I'd become innocently convinced, for more reasons which I'll describe later, that the best thing for me business-wise was not to get more students, but to help fewer players experience consistent golf. And this may seem like a meaningless distinction to you, but I consider it a huge distinction. So that was the underlying motivation for my vocation. In the 25 years or so since, it's had huge ramifications for my business, but more importantly for you people, for the players I help, of which you now, obviously consider yourself one, and some of you for a lot of those 25 years. I no longer would judge myself successful by the number of students or income I had. I now would determine my vocational success by how much the players I helped experience their own personal, unique, consistent golf success. It spoke to the underlying motivation for what I was trying to do. In the 25 years or so since, it's helped people like you. I no longer would judge, again, by that criteria right there. So, another topic here, telecasts harm golfers. So, there's a great quote I love by Yogi Berra. Now, I've enjoyed observing people, watching and listening to them. I've lived in some of the poorest and roughest neighborhoods of our nation. I've also lived in some of the richest and kindest neighborhoods in our nation. I get easily fascinated by the differences in all of us human beings. A great man once said that the first duty of love is to listen. So I like watching and listening to people. And so with this profound determination to see players improve 25 years ago, I listened with much more interest to those people who played golf. Increasingly, I concluded that a huge amount of y'all's perception of your golf game had gotten shaped by TV golf over the years. Quite often, normal players like yourself, I often described how that guy, y'all would describe to me, well, that guy did that on TV yesterday, but I can't do that, Joel. Why not? And so you could say their self-image, their golf image, right, was getting formed by what people were seeing on TV golf and what the TV golf announcers were saying. So again, changing scenes now for a minute. I'm starting to realize this about 20 years ago, in about the year 2000, but part of where I learned this, or why I was concluding this 20 years ago, is what I had learned 40 years ago. So about 1979, I'm sitting down with Aunt Sis. She vehemently would scoff at TV golf. She was very critical of it. And the first time I saw her do this was in about 1979. And now, again, I'm getting a little personal here, but this will help you in the long run, I think, if you know these things. I'd love seeing my Aunt Sis's name in encyclopedias and golf books and newspapers and golf magazines since I was a little boy, you know. Aunt Sis's name is what we called her. Her name was Louise, but we called her Aunt Sis. It carried this really cool, mythical, mystical, untouchable kind of a celebrity aura to it. Now, largely because my mom had left my dad in '67 when I was younger. So Mom, she really didn't let us talk to our golf side of the family, my dad's side of the family. And so you know how things when things get disallowed, right, they become more alluring. So by 1978, by the time I turned 18, I got to begin to know Aunt Sis and take lessons from her. I hung on her every word. I clung to Aunt Sis's words right up to her meaningful death a few years ago. Many folks have called Aunt Sis a one-of-a-kind lady in many ways. And throughout these 13 weeks, you'll learn more and more about how much we can learn from her even today. So getting back to TV golf, you see, when Aunt Sis scoffed at TV golf, I mean, she really scoffed at it. Like so many, not all, but a lot of good players, she had a very calm, measured demeanor. So when her most emotion-laden words often got reserved for scoffing at TV golf that we'd watch together, it really made my ears perk up back there about 45 years ago. Why does she seem so bothered by these TV golf guys, I would wonder. All right, so Byron, you're wrong. Well, about a year or two later, after we started getting to know each other, in about 1980, she says to me one day while we're watching TV, she says, Joel, I'd like to tell you a story. She says, I was in Cincinnati at Kenwood Country Club playing in the 1963 U.S. Women's Open. I was about to putt. Now, this is the first time we'd ever had a tournament televised. And again, Aunt Sis is one of the 12 founding members of the LPGA. So you got to believe they're all fired up about this. And she says, I hear Byron Nelson up in this ramshackle TV treehouse saying something like, now Louise has this putt, it'll break to her right. Well, Joel, first of all, it bothered me that I could hear him. And as I've told you before, Joel, I consider Byron to be the best, nicest, most considerate gentleman in the whole golf world. And Aunt Sis could say that because this is 1963 when she's telling me this story about him being up in a treehouse broadcasting at Kenwood there. But in 1948, 15 years earlier, when she signed an endorsement deal with McGregor down on Spring Grove Avenue, they assigned to her, they introduced her, they said, this is Byron Nelson. And she said, well, yeah, I know that. And she said, Byron and his wife, Louise, are going to take you around for the next couple of years and teach you how to do clinics around the country to endorse and sell, promote our McGregor golf clubs. So Aunt Sis got to know Byron and Louise on the road very well the next few years. And so she loved Byron. To the day she died, she said he was the best man in the whole golf industry. She said, but, you know, Joel, in 1963, I just couldn't contain myself when I'm on the screen about the putt. And so I looked up at Byron and said, Byron, would you please hold it down up there? We can hear you down here talking. And of course, he was embarrassed, you know. We can hear you talking all the way down here. Besides, Brian, you're wrong. This putt doesn't break to the right, it breaks to the left. And so there she is telling Byron Nelson he's wrong, you know, in the middle of a tournament when she's trying to play well. She finished second in that tournament, by the way, to Mary Mills there at Kenwood in 1963. And so, of course, I asked Aunt Sis, I said, well, were you right? Or was Byron right? Did it break right to left? She said, well, I was correct, of course, and I made the putt, by the way. You know, she told me that. And so Aunt Sis made so much sense to me that day. She said, the fact that, Joel, these TV golf announcers, all right, she had this healthy skepticism for anything they would mention, especially for anything that was presumptuous in her mind, that they mind-readingly kind of said about what the player was hearing or seeing or felt or thought. TV golf announcers simply cannot see, hear, feel, nor think what the actual player sees, hears, feels, and thinks in that moment. Mind reading is not a human faculty. All right? People do it all the time. I tried to quit doing it over the last 20, 30 years. I don't consider it very polite or respectful to try and read people's minds. But TV golf announcers are doing it all the time. Now, I consider it part of their network broadcasting and entertainment genius that they employ former great players in their TV golf booths, like Byron Nelson back in 1963. Yet still, those former great players, as much as they know about golf and much as great golf they've played, they do not know what the current tour player on the course at that moment has in his mind. Aunt Sis and I would always immediately consider it presumption, possibly even arrogance, whenever we'd hear a TV golf announcer mystically divining, reading the mind of what that tour player thinks in that moment. So, again, they've played a great part in creating much of the TV golf entertainment value, but they cannot mind read. They're just human beings. They're not God. People like Paul Klischesinger, Ian Baker Excuse, Ben Seldom Wright, Gary talking differently than what they've been whispered to McCord, you know, the good Immelmans, Nick Genius Faldo, like I said, I consider him a values, Lanny Obvious Watkins, all these people, you know, Bobby's got no chance, Rosberg. All right. God love them. We sure all do, right? They've invaded our golf mindset now for 70 years, right? They do their job well. They're getting those Nielsen ratings up, making money for themselves and their employees. You know, and again, Old Master Telecast. I love them. I love everything. Remember, I'm a golf drunk. I love TV golf, but it's just not good for your game. Now, since that 63 Open, that was the first one telecast for the ladies, the British had their first, the men had them in 92. The men here in America had their first one in 52. Lou Worsham famously hold a wedge, you know, and so on that last hole, the first time it was ever televised in live TV, it was not scripted. Everyone thought it was scripted somehow or trick photography, but it was so exciting. And ever since, golf and TV have been a beautiful marriage, all right? But they just understand this. They want to entertain you. And we love how they do it. I love how they do it. But it's not instruction. Do not use it as instruction. Remember, I'm trying to help normal people like yourself. I have thousands of scorecards over the last 20 or 30 years. All right? Mr. Jones, if you could tell me when, this is what she asked him one time, Aunt says, if you could tell me what thing to do to become a great player, he said, with no hesitation, please hit the bleep out of the ball. It'll come down somewhere. So, you know, the game can be much more simple for normal players, especially like you and me. If we just keep going by these facts, there's a very simple understanding of not only knowing the right golf answer there, but also doing the right golf answer that y'all have become familiar with a little more the last couple of years. So that is very much what I want to keep impressing upon you as we go through these 13 weeks. That again, TV golf overcomplexifies. Again, I know that's not a word, but you get my drift here. Your game, hit mute, become consistent. So thanks for joining me tonight for this online discovery chat. Let me see down here in the chat if we have any questions, Feel free to unmute yourself if you want to ask a quick question before we sign off. I'll give you about another 15 seconds if you want to type or audibly say something or ask a question. And if not, I'm again thankful you got to hear these things tonight. I want you to benefit from my 40 and 50 years of hanging out with some of the greatest players of all time, so your game can become more simple and more consistent. Thanks so much. Tell your friends the recording will be available in the next couple of days. And if I don't see you between now and then, we'll see you here online again next Tuesday night at 8:30 Eastern. Thanks again. Take care.